If you're watching this right now, you either just survived one of the most widespread winter storms America has seen in years, or you're wondering what happens when the grid goes down in 20-degree weather and you're running on solar power. Well, I'm about to show you exactly how our EG4 system performed when it mattered the most. I'm Richard, and welcome back to Off-Grid Solar Living. Over the past week, Winter Storm Fern slammed into the United States, affecting 24 states, impacting over 230 million people, stretching 2,000 miles from the Mexican border to Canada. Here in Texas, 40 miles north of Houston, we hit 20 degrees outside. Over 1 million customers lost power nationwide. And unlike those folks sitting in the dark, I had a front row seat watching my EG4 solar system do exactly what I built it to do, keeping the heat running and, guys, keeping the water flowing. This isn't a theoretical test. This is a real-world life or death infrastructure working under extreme pressure. So let's break down exactly how each component performed during this state of emergency. Here's what we had online during the freeze. The EG4 12,000 XP inverter running our primary heating. Our 12K BTU EG4 hybrid mini split as our secondary heating zone. 6 EG4 100 amp hour LiFePOWER rack mount battery version 2 on our 12,000 XP. And then our Adani 330 watt solar panels and our Hyperion 450 watt bifacial panels. We also had a Chinese diesel heater on standby, but we didn't need it. And our makeshift foam board shelter protection for our well pump with a quartz heat lamp inside. Now, if you've been following this channel, you know we built this system after a brush fire nearly took everything out in May 2025 when the main breaker failed and we had no water to fight the fire. I made a promise then, never again. This freeze was the first major test of that promise. The solar array configurations. Here's how the solar is set up across both systems. The 6,000 XP system, our shed-to-house conversion, has 7 Adani 330 watt panels on a single string. No optimizers, straight to the MPPT controller. A total of 2,310 watts of solar. Our 12,000 XP system in our office building, MPPT number 1, has 12 Adani 330 watt panels here with Tigo optimizers, bringing us about 3,960 watts. MPP number 2 has 7 Hyperion 450 watt bifacial panels, no optimizers, and bringing about 3,150 watts. It's a total of about 7,110 watts of solar capacity at its max. The Tigo optimizers on those 12 Adani panels help maximize production when you've got partial shading or snow coverage, something that became very real and relevant during this storm when I started building on these arrays. Now let's talk about staying warm. The 12,000 XP inverter was tasked with running our 24K BTU EG4 hybrid mini split, our primary heat source for our main office building. Here's how it performed. During the freeze, we had multiple consecutive days of near zero solar production. Heavy cloud cover, freezing precipitation, ice on the panels. Basically, the worst case scenario for a solar dependent system. The 12,000 XP strategy, primary power source, was our battery bank. 6 100 amp hour batteries. Secondary charging was our solar panels when available. Our territory charging was the grid power. When batteries needed supplementation, it pulled from the grid. So what happened? For days, the system ran almost entirely on batteries, supplemented by grid charging. We literally had no sun until Monday afternoon. The 24K mini split ran continuously in 20-degree weather, and it kept us warm. Monday, January the 26th, the sun finally broke through. And this is where the solar configuration made a difference. Our solar recovery came on Monday. When the sun came back, the 12,000 XP had a significant advantage. With over 7,000 watts of solar capacity spread across those 2 MPPT controllers, the 12 Adani 330 watt panels with the Tigo optimizers on MPPT1, and then we had the 7 Hyperion 450-watt bifacial panels on MPPT2. Those Tigo optimizers on the Adani array helped maximize production tremendously. Even as ice was still melting off the panels, the 12,000 XP immediately prioritized solar charging. Pulling those 6 batteries back up after days of running on stored power and the grid supplementation was great. Meanwhile, the 6,000 XP with the 7-panel Adani array, having no Tigo optimizers yet, also started generating power. But with about a third of the solar capacity, recovery was slower, which was fine because that system had grid pass-through active anyway. The real-world performance test here. So here's where it gets impressive. My shed-to-house conversion is only about half insulated. No floor insulation below, no ceiling insulation above. A couple of the side walls are completely bare, as you can see here, and others we do have some insulation. This is not a finish-sealed, energy-efficient structure at all. We set the thermostat to 61 degrees. In 20-degree weather, with half the insulation missing, the system maintained 56 degrees inside when it was 20 degrees outside. That's impressive. Let me repeat that. 20 degrees outside, half insulated building, 56 degrees inside. Guys, these units are running on heat pumps and they're amazing. So let's talk about the hybrid heat pump advantage. Here's the beauty of the EG4 hybrid mini split. They're not just air conditioners, they are heat pumps. Even in 20-degree weather, these units put heat from the outside cold air and they transfer it inside. They're incredibly efficient compared to those resistive heating loads, which means less draw on the battery bank and less need for grid supplementation. A lot of people think heat pumps don't work in extreme cold. I can tell you by experience, they do. The storm just proved otherwise. The 12K hybrid mini split was powered by the 6000 XP here in the shed-to-house conversion. Same inverter managing our well pump. Now, this is important to understand. We're running 2 completely different solar systems. The 6000 XP with 3 100 amp hour batteries handles the shed-to-house conversion, our critical water infrastructure, our cooling and heating. Our 12,000 XP with 6 100 amp hour batteries runs the office building, and our 24K mini split. These aren't backup systems for each other, guys. They're independent power systems for 2 completely different structures. But that separation gave us a massive advantage during this storm. Distributed risk. If one system failed, the other system continued to run. Load balancing. Each inverter handles its own building without overloading. Then there's the strategic power allocation. Critical infrastructure, water plus living space on one system, workspace on another. And just like that, the 24K unit in the office. The 12K mini split in the shed-to-house conversion performed flawlessly at 20 degrees outside. Just steady, reliable heat, keeping this half-insulated space at 56 degrees inside. That's impressive. We also have a Chinese diesel heater on standby, but we didn't need to use it. But if either mini split had failed, we had another layer of protection ready to go with the diesel heater. So what worked? Number 1, grid pass-through for critical loads. Using grid as primary and batteries as backup gave us the best of both worlds, reliability and resilience. Number 2 were the heat pumps in the extreme cold. Both EG4 hybrid mini splits worked perfectly at 20 degrees outside. If you're building a solar-powered heating system, don't overlook heat pumps, even in freezing temps. They work great. Third thing, foam board plus radiant heat for freeze protection. It was a quick, easy, and cost-effective solution. A cheap, temporary solution, guys, that saved our water system. Sometimes the simplest fixes work the best. The fourth thing, our battery backup for peace of mind. Knowing we had hours of runtime if the grid had failed made all the difference. The fifth thing, dual independent systems. 2 separate solar setups for 2 different structures meant distributed risk and load balancing homestead. So here's my honest assessment. what I'd change. Number one, more solar capacity. It's a must. We're planning on adding higher wattage panels at some point in the future and expanding the array. That's going to give the days of zero production reminded me you can never have too much solar. Second thing, EG4 charge inverter for the generator backup. We have a Harbor Freight Predator generator on standby. It's 120 volts, but it only outputs that 120 volts, not 240. What we really needed was the EG4 charge inverter to efficiently charge the battery banks from the generator. So that's on the list for our future upgrades, because having a generator that can't effectively charge your batteries isn't much good. It's like having a spare tire you can't mount. The third thing, guys, permanent pump house. The foam board shelter worked, but a proper insulated structure with built-in heat would be the long-term solution. Fourth thing, we need to finish the insulation in the shed-to-house conversion. If a half-insulated shed kept 56 degrees in 20-degree weather with 12K hybrid, imagine what it could do fully sealed and insulated. So let's zoom out for a second. The storm affected 230 million people across 24 states. Over 1 million customers lost power during this storm. At least 29 people died. And while the rest of the country was dealing with power outages, flight cancellations, and emergency declarations, we were sitting here at 56 degrees with the heat running and the water flowing. And that was in the partially insulated shed-to-house conversion. In our office, it was a nice warm 81 degrees. Guys, this is why energy independence matters. The grid is fragile. It's always been. And storms like this, whether it's Winter Storm Fern, the Texas freeze of 2021, or the next disaster that's honestly already on its way, they prove that you cannot rely on someone else to keep your family safe. Straight facts. The federal solar tax credit, it's gone. It ended December 31st, 2025. The equipment prices, they're rising. Regulations, they're tightening. And events like this are becoming more common, not less. Here's what this means for you. If you've been thinking about building a solar backup system, the time is now. Not next year, but now. Not when the next storm hits, but now. Because when the grid fails, and guys, it will fail again, you need to know the heat will stay on. The water will keep flowing, and you won't be at the mercy of the power company, the politicians, or the weather. So guys, if you want to learn how to build a system like this, one that actually works when it matters, hit the subscribe button below, turn on notifications, and over the next few months, I'm going to break down every component on these systems, showing you the real-world numbers, the mistakes I made, and the lessons that I've learned along the way, so you can build your own backup power solution before the next crisis hits. Drop a comment below. Did you make it through Winter Storm Fern? What would you have done differently? Let's learn from each other. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who needs to see it, because the next storm is coming and we all need to be ready. Guys, thanks for watching. Stay warm, stay safe, stay charged, and I'll see you in the next one.